Part 10. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Siahua. Chapter 91. Speaking of widows, of course the famous Siaji makes men dream the most, although she will not be a widow all her life. It is said in the biography of Linu, Siaji was so beautiful that she destroyed the country and ruined the Chen dynasty. She left the second official, brought trouble to Chezhuang, defeated the witches and ministers, and her son regretted and feared. Killing 3 husbands, 1 prince and 1 son, destroying a country and 2 ministers, such a reputation is the historical record left by Siaji. However, although Siaji is a romantic person, she blames Siaji for many reasons, such as the destruction of the country, the destruction of the family, and the death of herself. It's a bit too much. Living in troubled times, with unparalleled beauty and appearance, if you want to survive, there are not many ways. Lu Xiang's phrase "the sorcerer who ruined the chaos" was too shameless. It was the sorcerer himself who took the initiative to marry Siaji. The author of the biography should just record it honestly, and he had to say that others were the ones who ruined the chaos. I thought I was writing a story. Most historical stories are either lies or lies. Lu Chang'an has never experienced Siaji's charm, but he knows it by looking at what these men do. Of course, men want their women to be as pure as jade and stay together forever, but they are also prone to coveting women like Siaji. As Akyu said, a monk can touch her, but I can't? Lu Chang'an thought for a while, continued to turn the pages of the book, and said casually, although your great-grandmother is also a cute little girl, she has nothing to do with being young and beautiful, right? You are so heartless. My great-grandmother had a romantic relationship with you when she was young, Zhu Huntang said, dissatisfied. Nothing. It doesn't matter whether you admit it or not. Zhu Huntang didn't care. He lifted up his skirt and pointed in the direction of Beilong's center. My mother is also a widow, and for a woman as strong and ferocious as her, could it be that isn't it more challenging for you? Only a woman with a keen mind and a deep character like her is more suitable to live with you. As an immortal or a person with superpowers, do you still like small children? A girl like white flowers? Shouldn't you pursue more connotation? A woman like my mother must have a face, a figure, a depth, and talents. She must be at home, live, accompany, and cooperate. The perfect choice. Lu Chang'an had finished flipping through the book and put it into Zhu Huntang's hands. He clasped his hands on his chest and looked at Zhu Huntang. It's perfect. Zhu Huntang clasped his hands and put the book on his chest, showing an expression that would make you speechless. I'm a little weird. What's weird? Qin Peng sent Qin Yinan to me. Qin Yinan wants to introduce you to me, and you want to introduce your mother to me. How about we guess again? Who will your mother introduce to me? Lu Chang'an's lips curled up slightly. Warped. Zhu Huntang laughed. Hearing what he said, it was really interesting. It's just that you people are too self-righteous, or you have no idea who you are facing. Lu Chang'an finally showed a sneer. Where do you have the confidence to think that I will be interested in someone you think is suitable? There is some care and kindness left over from old friends, but it should be limited. The sneer at the corner of Lu Chang'an's mouth disappeared in an instant, and he raised his hand and patted Zhu Huntang on the head. Go back. Zhu Huntang turned around and left step by step. Lu Chang'an's sneer at that moment actually made her legs feel weak, as if she suddenly found herself hovering on the edge of the cliff while running. Zhu Huntang left the community and seemed to have broken free from some web that oppressed her momentum. She got into her bulletproof Mercedes-Benz and then wiped her forehead, picked up the water and drank it in one gulp, without her usual elegant sip. The standing posture. Lu Chang'an is like a round giant panda on weekdays. Although he is known to be a strong bear in the bear family, he always looks harmless to humans and animals, but he still has scalpel-like claws, a fierce bite force and an explosive power. Powerful. It is impossible for Grandma Zhang to support her in dealing with Lu Chang'an, so is her attitude towards Lu Chang'an a bit too unscrupulous. Zhu Huntang came to his senses and seemed to have to be more vigilant in the future, so as not to be fooled by his lazy and casual look into forgetting that he was a person with superpowers. Finally cleared, Lu Chang'an went to type cards under the grape trellis. Yesijin, Qin Peng and Su Mei are all good at calligraphy, and Su Mei is especially good at mahjong. In the sharp winter, when the weather was freezing and the fireplace was burning in the room, it was quite warm. Yesijin and Su Mei both took off their fur shawls and wore only short-sleeved long skirts, adding a touch of warmth to the hot air. In the spring, Qin Peng was anxious, calculating how much he could get back in the remaining time. He agreed on how many chips he would win on the field, and Su Mei donated 1,000 times from the accounting room to him to buy food and pay. Master Ye took the time to hold Yesijin's soft and warm little hand under the table, and gave her a shot to reassure her. At this time, Suzayakuai brought a bottle of red wine that was quite luxurious at that time. He remembered Qin Peng holding the wine glass. He reluctantly asked if he could stop drinking and give it to him in exchange for money. He won't be drunk or poisoned, but he will be affected emotionally and physically by certain things. What happened next? Let's not mention it. Lu Chang'an looked at the old men and women playing cards in front of him, and finally squeezed in and grabbed a seat. While playing cards, Qin Yinan called and asked him about the situation of the college entrance examination. There is a small problem with the Chinese language. Of course it is not my problem. The marking teacher may misunderstand that the essay is off topic. English also depends on the mood of the marking teacher. If he thinks that I am letting myself go, there is nothing I can do. There is no problem with comprehensive science and mathematics. Lu Chang'an answered truthfully, in short, I feel good myself. What's the use of feeling good? I heard that your grades are pretty good, and there's no problem with your even worse scores, Qin Yinan said nonchalantly. Thank you, there's no need for it. Lu Chang'an was quite confident. His total score was 750. If you throw some away, you would still be rich. Which school are you going to apply for? Xiang University. Why Xiangda? The girl I like will apply to Hunan University. Qin Yinan chuckled lightly, said nothing, and hung up the phone. She was indeed a romantic seed, but the little girl named In Nuan seemed to be quite lucky. It seemed that there was no hope for Zhu Huntang, no doubt. My little cousin doesn't like Zhu Huntang's fairy behavior at all. Lu Chang'an played cards until 11 o'clock, then went back to sleep. He looked at the messages and saw an unknown number. Sorry, I was presumptuous today. There was no doubt that this was from Zhu Huntang. Lu Chang'an did not reply, and then saw another message. See you tomorrow, good night. By the way, how tall have you grown? Will you try standing on tiptoe tomorrow? Lu Chang'an replied to the message, but In Nuan must have fallen asleep, and so did Lu Chang'an. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 92. On June 9, it rained in the morning and then cleared up. I always felt that the memories under the grape trellis last night had become an unfinished dream. I sat up and rubbed my head. I was stunned for a moment, and there was a whimpering in my ears like a flute. After breakfast, I went out for a stroll. There was a moist smell on the street. I walked up step by step and felt the wetness clinging to the soles of my feet. When I came to the bridge across the river, I saw an empty distance in the distance, with the flow swollen as if covered with light blue clouds. The layers are stacked one on top of the other on the south side. The wind is blowing on the river, and the clouds seem to be moving. The idle passers-by and tourists on the bridge raise their hands to block the wind and avoid the bumpy electric cars. It is very difficult to take a peaceful walk. Lu Chang'an's walking pace and habit of being lost in thought meant that it was normal for him to be hit on this road. He would be hit once or twice by an electric car or bicycle every now and then. Not today. He looked at the time and walked a little faster than usual. When he arrived at the gate of the affiliated middle school, Huangshan finally stopped squatting at the gate. After the 2-day holiday as an examination center, the first and second grade students still have to come to class. There is still nearly a month before the summer vacation begins. For fresh high school graduates, only those who plan to continue their studies will have summer vacation in the next days. But for those who are already entering society, every next day can be a vacation doing nothing if you want. For students who have only tried their best, maybe even mobilized all the social resources of the whole family, children, relatives, and friends, to enter the affiliated high school, the possibility of giving up their studies after the third year of high school is very slim. After all, as one of the traditional 4 famous schools in Junsha, the affiliated high school, the first placement rate is over 90%, and the same is true for the other 3 schools. Many parents also have very simple ideas. Since the enrollment rate is so high, it means that the children are focused on studying. There will be fewer fights and troubles, which will make people feel more at ease. After all, there are quite a lot of messy things in schools now. Many. But there are situations where hormonal control induces genes for youth violence. Lu Chang'an came to the gym to wait for An Nuan, and met Chen Changxiu. Chen Changxiu is a sophomore in high school and will be a senior in the next semester. An Nuan has already graduated. Although he has never had a chance, he feels a little depressed after all. And his biggest love rival Lu Chang'an is said to be following An Nuan to apply for a volunteer. He is obviously a loser. A loser who only knows how to chase women, but this kind of person can make girls happy. How can a girl of this age understand that a real man like Chen Changxiu has character, temper, sunshine, and masculinity at the same time? Chen Changxiu is a smart man, and he has the character of becoming braver and more cautious when he is frustrated. This time he brought 4 people, who are the main players of the basketball team of the attached middle school. Could Lu Chang'an still be able to beat 5 against 1? Good morning. Chen Changxiu stared at Lu Chang'an fiercely. Lu Chang'an felt that it was not good to ignore him. After all, he was a human being and not a barking dog on the road, so he smiled and said hello. Someone told me yesterday that An Nuan was coming to school for football practice today, so I knew you would definitely come. Everything was under Chen Changxiu's calculation and control. Yeah, so I got up early and washed my hair. I'm going to blow your head off. You can't blow it up. Lu Chang'an often spoke seriously to others, but there were always people who didn't believe him. An Nuan came to the gym a little later than Lu Chang'an, and saw Lu Chang'an standing at the door of the gymnasium, with Chen Changxiu and 4 members of the school basketball team behind him. Team members. An Nuan. An Nuan. Everyone loves her. An Nuan. An Nuan. The flowers are blooming. An Nuan. An Nuan. The attached middle school is the most beautiful. When Chen Changxiu and the other 5 saw An Nuan, they started shouting slogans. An Nuan felt goosebumps rising and felt extremely embarrassed. There was no doubt that this was Lu Chang'an's fault. He walked over and pulled Lu Chang'an aside. What are you doing? They were conquered by your beauty. Lu Chang'an pointed at Chen Changxiu. They did it spontaneously. Did they do it spontaneously? An Nuan glanced at Chen Changxiu, who was bruised and swollen, and punched Lu Chang'an. You think I'm a fool? Let them go. Thank you all. If you are free, you can come back tomorrow. Lu Chang'an thanked Chen Changxiu and others very sincerely, although it seemed to have no effect. Chen Changxiu left without looking back. He would never pursue An Nuan again. His face was completely lost. How could he have any face in front of An Nuan? The 5 people left, and An Nuan glared at Lu Chang'an angrily. Lu Chang'an looked at An Nuan and smiled. The corners of An Nuan's mouth gradually turned up, and she couldn't hold it anymore. She raised her small fist and hit Lu Chang'an's chest. I hate it. You've been fooling around all day. Lu Chang'an just laughed. Fortunately, you have graduated. If you were like this when you were a freshman in high school, I don't know how many messy things you will cause in 3 years, and Nuan said, not knowing whether it was regretful or fortunate. What would you do if you went back to high school again? And Nuan glanced at Lu Chang'an quietly. She had only thought about this problem yesterday. Fortunately, Lu Chang'an could not spy on her thoughts yesterday. She smiled and said, I will try my best to bring you and Bai Hui together. Then I will work hard to bring you and Chen Changzhou together. How could you do this? And Nuan said angrily. Why can you? I can just say whatever I want. I can just talk about it. I can only talk casually. You just make me angry. And Nuan educated Lu Chang'an seriously, don't you understand such a simple truth? You are unreasonable. I won't tell you. All right. In front of the gymnasium of Xiatian High School, Lu Chang'an finally did not insist on being reasonable. And Nuan tilted her head slightly proudly and contentedly, with a smile like a flower. This is often the case. You insist on being reasonable just because the other party is not qualified to be unreasonable. After entering the gymnasium, En Nuan went to the locker room to change clothes. 2 other volleyball team members who graduated from high school also arrived, Zhao Chenchen and Ma Yilin. The 2 senior high school students spent much less time training than En Nuan. They took advantage of the fact that there was still some time before the league. We also need to increase the intensity of training. Everyone wants to achieve a satisfactory result after 3 years of training. Hi, the 2 girls greeted Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an always went to the gym to watch En Nuan train. Everyone on the volleyball team knew him. They went to the locker room to change clothes and came out with En Nuan after a while. There are some differences between the 2 of En Nuan in appearance, but they are both tall girls with long legs, and they are not sports majors. They do not have the stronger physiques of professional athletes, and their figures are still in line with ordinary people's aesthetics. While Lu Chang'an turned around, En Nuan stood on tiptoe behind him. She had seen the text message from last night, but how could she stand in front of him seriously and stand on tiptoe to test it? Do you still need a girl's reserve? Lu Chang'an turned around at this time. En Nuan just stood up on tiptoe and quickly jumped around in place. Looking around, his cheeks were still a little pink from a guilty conscience. Why are you still wearing a watch? Lu Chang'an reminded En Nuan. Oh. En Nuan was slightly looking forward to it. He finally noticed it. He took off his watch and touched his arm. He looked at Lu Chang'an and said, the watch is black. Doesn't it make my hands look white? You are all white, Lu Chang'an said. En Nuan was slightly ashamed and hit Lu Chang'an. She was indeed all white, but is this something a boy can say? A gangster, and most importantly, an idiot. Didn't you hear that you emphasized the words watch and very white? It felt like he didn't realize his obvious hint at all. How obvious is this? Everyone can understand it, right? Billy can be extended to mean that it is unpleasant to play B. This is a Han Dynasty musical instrument used by the barbarians to scare horses. Considering Lu Chang'an's past in the Han Dynasty, this was used, and the uncommon word was not intentionally used. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 93. Focusing on watch and very white, it shouldn't be difficult to understand confession, right? En Nuan thought this, unless he had not made such preparations at all, otherwise he must be able to understand. En Nuan has worked very hard. Is it nonsense to say that if you never forget something, there will be repercussions? Lu Chang'an went to talk to Zhao Chenchen and Ma Yilin. En Nuan decided that she would never stand on tiptoe to test his height again today. She took off her watch and didn't bother to put it back in the locker room, so she just put it in his pocket. Are we here to be light bulbs? Zhao Chen said jokingly. The whole gymnasium is bright, Ma Yilin also said. Is it on? Is it on? And Nuan pretended not to understand, raised her hand to her eyebrows and looked around. Lu Chang'an took the volleyball to try out his skills. He ran and jumped and served a few balls. After smashing the ball, the three girls all saw that Lu Chang'an was definitely good at playing volleyball. He was more than just a sparring partner. He seemed to be able to help them train some things. Of course Lu Chang'an is an expert, otherwise what would he be doing? If you want to make an appointment with an Nuan, there are many more fun things than practicing ball. It's amazing, I can't tell. Zhao Chen looked at Lu Chang'an in surprise. Usually Lu Chang'an has good academic performance. I don't know how an Nuan likes him. Now it seems that he is relatively low-key and not talented. The revealing kind. I remember that the last time he served was a curve ball. He had great speed and strength. And Nuan even jumped up to block the ball with his face. Ma Yilin witnessed that time with her own eyes and thought that Lu Chang'an was very strong and happened to serve it at that time. Just a good shot. You also said, no one is allowed to mention this matter again, and Nuan was proud of Lu Chang'an, but at the same time she felt embarrassed. She put her hands on her hips and acted like a captain majestically. Since Lu Chang'an offered to be a sparring partner, he would take it seriously. He clapped his hands and motioned for them to come around. No matter what kind of sport it is, talent determines the upper limit. Your three talents are not very good, Lu Chang'an told the truth. Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin were a little dissatisfied. This was an instinctive reaction, but they wanted to save an Nuan's face. You have to speak softly and don't hurt us, of course. An Nuan wanted to give advice. Lu Chang'an gave an Nuan a rare look. You have gone too far. No teacher should be gentle. Basically, students who study physical education will not be successful unless they are beaten. Lu Chang'an adjusted his tone. Talent, hard work, opportunity, luck, logistics, and food are all very important. To reach the top, you must have all of them in 9 cases out of 10. Of course, you are only participating in an inter-school volleyball league. It's not that important anymore. Mastering some small skills and training based on your own shortcomings and strengths is the best way to improve your strength in a short period of time. Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin nodded. Lu Chang'an spoke clearly and directly. They also admitted that they were not very good in terms of talent and hard work. They were just interested. It was their love for this sport that supported them in their practice. You are still a little fierce, An Nuan said. Even Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin rolled their eyes at An Nuan. Where is your focus? Lu Chang'an asked them to pull up the video of the last competition. It was a competition between another school on May 4th Youth Day. It happened that all 3 of them participated as the main players, but An Nuan's performance in this competition was much better than that of Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin. After all, An Nuan didn't reduce his training too much because he entered his senior year of high school. Next, Lu Chang'an gave targeted analysis and guidance, while An Nuan mainly observed whether Lu Chang'an was more attentive to them. Zhao Chen was quite cute, and Ma Yilin's breasts were considered big for a girl of this height, especially her. I didn't wear sports bra today. The one used is the ordinary kind of breast tattoo with support. Could she know that Lu Chang'an is the instructor today? What are you thinking about? Lu Chang'an patted An Nuan on the head. Ah! An Nuan saw Ma Yilin looking at him and coughed a little guilty. What was he really thinking about? After practicing golf all day, the 3 girls were very happy and felt that they had improved a lot, especially Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin. An Nuan, because her level was higher than them and her basic skills were more solid, did not benefit as much as them, but she herself I am very satisfied. Although the coach usually reminds me of some things, I feel that they are not as critical as what Lu Chang'an said, so sharp and enlightening. Lu Chang'an, let's treat you to a meal. Ma Yilin felt that she must treat Lu Chang'an to a meal to express her gratitude. When are you not eating? Zhao Chen pointed at An Nuan and asked Ma Yilin to pay attention to An Nuan. Ma Yilin smiled and said, "Then next time." An Nuan pretended not to hear them, so that he wouldn't have to insist that everyone eat together at noon. The three girls went to take a shower and change clothes. Lu Chang'an also went next door to wash his face and wipe his arms. After a while, they came out. Lu Chang'an watched Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin say hello and then left. He said with some dissatisfaction, "Are girls so hypocritical? They even asked me to treat them to dinner, but they left directly. Go quickly, catch up and ask them to treat you to dinner." And Nuan nudged Lu Chang'an with her shoulder. "After thinking about it, I still like to eat alone with you." Lu Chang'an told the truth, it was actually quite embarrassing to eat with people he didn't know very well. Eating with An Nuan, as long as she didn't refuse to eat or eat vegetables for no reason, or get angry or remind Lu Chang'an to eat slowly, she would leave first. "It's all good." And Nuan snorted, and couldn't help but smile sweetly, but she quickly reminded herself that Lu Chang'an's performance today was very average. After counting carefully, he felt that he talked to Ma Yilin more than Zhao Chen, and he talked to An Nuan more. When he spoke, his tone was very serious, nothing special. An Nuan paid attention to the modal words he used when talking to her, and there were only a few. If he didn't use modal words, he would not be gentle or sweet, which meant that he had no special emotions. This year's results seem to be released around June 26. "Have you fully evaluated the scores?" An Nuan and Lu Chang'an walked out of the school. An Nuan was already sure of her results. Between 600 and 700 points. Lu Chang'an didn't have time to check the answers. He was busy last night and spent the whole night running beard calculations. "How is it possible to score 600? I think you are at least between 650 and 680. And Nuan felt that if Lu Chang'an didn't mess around, it would be impossible to get that low. Usually there are 400 to 500 people in the attached high school with scores above 600 every year. Lu Chang'an's "How can the grades be so bad? Well, it is safe to apply for Hunan University with a score of 650. Lu Chang'an also knew that the admission score of Hunan University in the local area has been on the rise in recent years. This year, it is safe to apply for a score of 630. "Then are you safe?" An Nuan asked with some worry. As his desk mate, I had seen too many of his willful performances in his usual Chinese exams. Lu Chang'an took An Nuan's hand and placed it on his chest. An Nuan's cheeks were slightly hot, and she turned her head sideways, resisting not to take her hands out. She could feel his heart beating strongly underneath. The heat of the boy's skin was a bit scalding, which made An Nuan's heart beat much faster. "I'm asking you something." An Nuan didn't know what he was going to do, but her voice was soft and humming. "Putting my heart in your hands means to reassure you." An Nuan raised her head, her eyes were full of water, and her mouth was full of anger. "If you really take out your heart and put it in my hand, you must squeeze it tightly, and you will never have the chance to hand it to anyone else again." Hunan University in this article is fictitious and does not specifically refer to Hunan University or any school in Central and South China. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 94. At noon, Lu Chang'an and An Nuan went to eat near the pedestrian street in Hedong. In most cities, few locals go to the so-called snack streets. However, because Junche's traditional snack and late-night snack gathering places have been developed into so-called food centers, there are also many people going to Junche, but they are more aware than tourists from other places which century-old shops are worthy of their name, and some specialize in humanistic sentiments. The Water Palace brand is very popular, and it also sells the great man's favorite braised pork and the so-called signature stinky tofu. But apart from entertaining relatives and friends who come here because of its reputation, locals rarely go there. In 1973, Hualujin conducted an optimization method experiment here for more than a month. The experiment concluded that when the oil temperature reaches 224 degrees Celsius for small fried dough sticks, 155 degrees Celsius for medium fried dough sticks, and 195 to 200 degrees Celsius for large fried dough sticks, it has the largest volume, the best taste, and the smallest fuel consumption, Lu Chang'an said while looking at the archway of the water palace. The water palace was built during the Wanli period, but like many old buildings, it was destroyed and repaired several times. After the Wengzi fire, the large bronze tripod from the Wanli period was lost, and the carvings on the archway were removed in the early decades. It's been removed. Why do you always remember these things that few people have heard of? And Nuan doesn't like eating fried dough sticks. She often ate Daiwen's big buns when she was a child. Her mother said that Daiwen's buns were very popular when she was a child, and her monthly salary was only a few dozen yuan. During the Qian dynasty, Daiwen's big meat buns were sold for 50 cents each, and 170,000 were sold during the Dragon Boat Festival one year. Isn't everyone aware of this? At that time, the optimization method was promoted across the country. It could save raw materials to the greatest extent in production practice. It was an era when every penny could be used as a dime. Lu Chang'an waved his hand. Let's go, forget the past. What shall we eat today? Eat big fried dough sticks fried at 200 degrees Celsius, and Nuan said with a smile. Lu Chang'an also smiled, watching and Nuan walking in front of him, her ponytail bouncing. The girl, her ponytail and bangs are so cute. The two came to a newly opened food court, named Taifu Temple, because Juncha was once the place where Jia Yi was demoted, and there was also the Jia mansion nearby. Many people even thought that Jia Yi was from Juncha, or they thought of Dream of Red Mansions as the place where Jia Yi was demoted. The Jia family in are lumped together, and it is common to make people laugh at generosity. In later generations, people often call him Chu Jia together, not to mention the reasons for Jia Yi's official career, but no matter how he can be called together with Chu Yuan, it is enough to illustrate Jia Yi's status in the hearts of future generations of literati. You must know that Chu Yuan is Li Bai, Du Fu, idols of great writers such as Wang Xiu and Sushi. Before Lu Chang'an finished speaking, a piece of stinky tofu was stuffed into his mouth. Can you shut your mouth? And Nuan proudly held a small portion of stinky tofu. It would be great if Lu Chang'an could talk like this when he was sweet-talking. Unfortunately, his eloquence seems to be spent most of the time on idle chatter. On. No. An occasional sentence or two often makes the heart beat shyly and overflowing with sweetness. In the past, it was often said that stinky tofu smells bad and tastes delicious, but in fact, stinky tofu nowadays basically does not have the so-called stinky smell. The first shop on the left side of the entrance to Taifu Temple sells stinky tofu. Juncha, the stinky tofu here is basically black, fried and crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. A small bowl dipped in sauce sells for 5 to 15 yuan. In fact, stinky tofu is just like instant noodles. It will become sticky when you haven't eaten it for a long time. I feel like eating it, but after eating a little, I feel tired. After eating stinky tofu, the second store we entered was a fruit platter. And Nuan picked a colorful platter of cherries, yellow peaches, dragon fruit, kiwi, honeydew melon, etc. The third store is a barbecue stall with large octopus tentacles, turkey wings, lamb leg bones, as well as various fried scorpions, centipedes, cicada pupae, small snakes, silkworms, aphids, ants, etc. Your favorite centipede? And Nuan hid behind Lu Chang'an as if startled and chuckled, whether you want to eat it or not, I won't stop you. And Nuan suddenly remembered many scenes in movies and TV series, and suddenly felt that she had failed, because in those scenes, the reasons used by girlfriends to prevent their boyfriends from eating strange things were, if you eat, you are not allowed to kiss me. The key is that she and Lu Chang'an haven't reached that stage yet. And Nuan looks at Lu Chang'an expectantly, hoping that he can understand what she just thought from her eyes. You want to eat it? It's best not to. Lu Chang'an waved his hand. If it is fresh, whether it is grilled or fried, it will taste very delicious, but if there are fewer people eating it at these stalls, the shelf life will be longer. In order not to stink, they often fry these things until they are almost dry. The taste is full of firewood and bitter, if you want to eat it. And Nuan went up to order the spicy hot pot. Lu Chang'an also ordered a portion of lamb tripe stewed with radish, and Nuan ordered a spicy hot pot with meat and vegetables. Then the two of them went upstairs where there were far fewer people and found a seat to sit down. Guess who I saw? And Nuan came back from washing her hands and said excitedly to Lu Chang'an. Seventh Po. And Nuan hit Lu Chang'an and pointed to his right side. Bai Hui and Zhao Wuqiang are sitting there. It seems that Zhao Wuqiang's hand injury is stable, Lu Chang'an said with great relief and a little regret. After all, Zhao Wuqiang was not able to take the college entrance examination. It was fate, and luck. Bai Hui and Zhao Wuqiang, and Nuan reminded Lu Chang'an to grasp the key points while continuing to pay attention to his expression. If he showed any signs of jealousy, and Nuan would not eat at noon today. And Nuan and Lu Chang'an. I hate it. I'm talking to you about business. Do you think they are dating? And Nuan stirred the coriander and spicy spices in the incense pot. It was not clear whether Lu Chang'an was jealous for the time being, so Nuan decided to eat first and wait. When you are full, you can decide not to eat at any time to express that you are angry. Then do you think they guessed whether we were dating? And Nuan looked around, raised her chin slightly, and snorted, we are daily. Daily date. Lu Chang'an smiled. And Nuan stopped refuting. Lu Chang'an's statement made her unwilling to talk back to him. But Nuan was still a little concerned about what Bai Hui and Zhao Wuqiang were saying. She peeped while eating and felt that Zhao Wuqiang was a little excited, but she couldn't hear their conversation clearly. Zhao Wuqiang said he hopes Bai Hui will give him a chance. He will repeat his studies for a year to catch up with Bai Hui. He doesn't mind Bai Hui being with Jianning and Lu Yuan in college, but he will still maintain the current relationship, but when he enrolls next year, he will work hard pursue Bai Hui and let Bai Hui see his sincerity in order to let Nuan eat with peace of mind. Lu Chang'an quoted what Zhao Wuqiang said, this is what he said just now. It turns out that he was probably confessing his love for Bai Hui in high school. Mental journey. How do you know? And Nuan was surprised. I can hear some in this direction. And Nuan quickly arranged to sit in a row with Lu Chang, and then found that she still couldn't hear clearly, so she asked Lu Chang'an to continue to explain, while wondering why Lu Chang'an could hear clearly, but she couldn't hear clearly. Bai Hui said that she came today to wish him to cheer up when he repeats his studies, not to be defeated by setbacks, to regain his strength, and to regard this accident as a test of life. When he enters university, he will naturally encounter there are more beautiful girls, or there will be people who are more suitable for him, and she herself will not fall in love in college. No matter whether he will follow her to the same college, she will only regard him as being with Jianning. A friend like Lu Yuan. And Nuan bit a cherry, listened carefully and looked thoughtful. Lu Chang'an thought girls were really strange. When they listened to gossip, they seemed much more focused than when they listened to the solution to the problem. They even showed an agility that was good at analysis. Gao Dui said that when he gave a lecture to Miao Yingying is always as dull as various animals in the zoo that have lost their spirituality. Sometimes they are described as bears, sometimes as giraffes. And Nuan, you have always looked like a beautiful swan, but now you are like a very bored beautiful swan swimming with the mandarin ducks preparing to mate next door. I couldn't hear you clearly at all. Did you make it up? And Nuan finally made a judgment and sat across from Lu Chang'an again. It was not convenient for the two of them to pick up food while sitting side by side. Eat it, it's cold. At this time, and Nuan saw Bai Hui suddenly become angry, and picked up the water on the table and threw it at Zhao Wuqiang, while Zhao Wuqiang's expression showed that he was furious and out of control. Bai Fen, and Nuan quickly stood up and shouted. Zhao Wuqiang and Bai Hui were both stunned and turned to look at Nuan and Lu Chang'an, who was sitting there slowly eating spicy hot pot. Zhao Wuqiang was very surprised. He looked at Bai Hui with a sneer, pointed at Nuan and Lu Chang'an, turned around and went downstairs without looking back. There was a lot of commotion just now, and many people gathered around to watch the fun, but they dispersed all of a sudden, which was a bit boring, and there was no time to create a cheerful atmosphere in the entire upstairs. Bai Hui brushed her hair beside her ears and sat down embarrassedly. She always came to say hello when Nuan came to her rescue just now. Just as Bai Hui was about to sit next to Lu Chang'an, she quickly stood up, sat next to Nuan, and said, "Sorry, I'm used to sitting in school." Nuan felt that Bai Hui was not in the mood to do this deliberately at this time, and she didn't care anymore. She was more concerned about what happened between Bai Hui and Zhao Wuqiang just now. "Sorry, today have a little gone mao, Ching, give me some things, anything Tuki I. I'm really immortal." Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 95. Spicy hot pot is a heavy flavor recipe. What you eat is the spicy and delicious flavor of various seasonings and ingredients. It is okay to eat it occasionally, but Lu Chang'an always feels that it is a waste of ingredients. The original flavors of various ingredients are marinated in the spices. Of course, the quality of the ingredients displayed by the vendors can be imagined. They were not delicious to begin with, and Lu Chang'an ate them casually without commenting. However, the bowl of radish stewed lamb tripe had an unexpected flavor, and he had put a lot of thought into it. As for the conversation between Nuan and Bai Hui, Lu Chang'an did not pay attention to the conversation between the two Chipos. Only by eating all kinds of small animals and plants with care can one be worthy of the superiority of being born. Nuan went to get another pair of bowls and chopsticks. There was no reason to eat by herself and Lu Chang'an. Bai Hui sat beside her and watched. Even if she didn't like eating, it was more polite. "What happened just now when everything was fine?" Nuan asked with concern, her serious eyes even more focused than when she was listening to Lu Chang'an explain her technical flaws. What he said was so unpleasant. Bai Hui's cheeks were slightly red, and Zhao Wuqiang's voice was a little loud at the end. Nuan probably didn't hear it, and she didn't know if Lu Chang'an would hear it. Since it was a curse word, Nuan somewhat shared the same hatred. After all, there were countless obscene things said about her on the internet behind her back. To make a girl like Bai Hui turn her face red-faced, it was probably the most extreme kind of thing. The description of the obscene and obscene association scene, however, it is also possible that Bai Hui was hurt by Zhao Wuqiang in some places. Nuan analyzed it objectively. After all, we are all classmates, and Nuan cannot completely stand on Bai Hui's side. The position is biased. Forget it, Zhao Wuqiang is quite miserable, and he doesn't have the same experience as him, Nuan said comfortingly. "I just want him to make me a bonus." After saying this, Bai Hui couldn't help but glance at Lu Chang'an next to him. Lu Chang'an had 200,000, but Lu Chang'an didn't seem to be the kind to give it to his girlfriend. A person who spends money lavishly, even the skirt he gave Nuan was made by himself. I don't know if Nuan has received it. Judging from what Nuan wore today, he should not have it yet. Otherwise, they are dating and Nuan likes it. If you think you can wear it, how can you not change into it? In the future, please don't agree to meet him alone again. Nuan reminded Bai Hui from the girl's point of view. Now you have failed to express your love, break up, and there are many things about girls being killed and hacked. Thinking about the ferocious look on Zhao Wuqiang's face at the end and the meaning in his eyes, Bai Hui couldn't help but feel a little scared and laughed sarcastically. "Isn't that true? You must not have the intention to harm others, and you must have the intention to guard against others. No matter what, it is always right to be careful. You and Zhao Wuqiang are not very familiar, so just stay away from him. And Nuan looked at the man who was eating seriously. Lu Chang'an said, Zhao Wuqiang still wants to find you. If that doesn't work, just take Qianning and Lu Yuan with you. First, Bai Hui would like to remind Bai Hui that the people she is looking for should be Qianning and Lu Yuan, but don't just take advantage of the situation and tell Lu Chang'an, then An Nuan will not be willing to do so. No, I will definitely not meet him again. Bai Hui shook his head firmly, we will all be college students in the future. He is still a high school student and has no social connections. Girls all have a mentality. It is best for a man to be in a strong or advantageous state. Bai Hui is going to college, so naturally she is mentally superior to Zhao Wuqiang. A high school student wants to pursue a college student, and Bai Hui even feels some disdain in his heart. By the way, which school do you plan to apply for? En Nuan asked. I originally planned to go to Taiwan to study, but then I found out that schools in Taiwan do not recruit students directly in Shonan. I want to go abroad, but my cousin does not agree. She thinks that the current employment situation for international students returning to China is not very good. If I go abroad, I am a woman. If your child lives alone abroad for a few years, you may not know what will happen to him. I have read a lot of negative news about studying abroad, and I feel a little guilty. Bai Hui sighed, I decided to study at Hunan University. En Nuan took a bite of sauerkraut, 2 slices of potatoes, a pinch of broccoli, and then drank some water. We are also planning to apply for Hunan University. En Nuan finally smiled, we will all still be alumni from now on. That's good. I heard Miao Yingying say it. Didn't Lu Chang'an say that he will fill in whatever you fill in? Bai Hui glanced at Lu Chang'an, who didn't care about foreign things and only ate spicy hot pot. Qianning and Lu Yuan must be the same, right? It's not the same as where you fill in, they fill in, and Nuan tried his best not to let his pride show. Bai Hui nodded awkwardly and glanced at Lu Chang'an again. She still remembered what Lu Chang'an said to him last time. Lu Chang'an seemed to be disgusted with Qianning and Lu Yuan surrounding her. I've already told them that I don't plan to fall in love until my job is stable. Bai Hui's voice was a little louder, paying attention to Lu Chang'an. How sensitive are girls in front of the person they like? En Nuan counted, and when Bai Hui sat down to look, she looked at Lu Chang'an 4 times in total. Just now she deliberately drew a clear line with Qianning and Lu Yuan, and she said it so loudly. Well, what does that mean? Lu Chang'an, when do you plan to fall in love? En Nuan put a tiger skin chicken foot into Lu Chang'an's bowl. En Nuan was very angry. This was of course Lu Chang'an's fault, so Lu Chang'an was asked to show off. Lu Chang'an held the tiger skin chicken feet between his legs and said nothing. En Nuan couldn't help but panic. Was she too confident? Why did she think that in this situation, Lu Chang'an would definitely give her face and help her regain her position? He also likes Bai Fen very much. Asking you, En Nuan insisted. Aren't we talking to you? Lu Chang'an asked doubtfully, looking a little unsure, am I just being sentimental? It's disgusting. Who is talking to you? En Nuan couldn't help feeling ashamed and happy. This person is so annoying. He always likes to scare people and take advantage of them, and he has never even made a serious confession. Bai Fen took a bite of sauerkraut, 2 slices of potatoes, a pinch of broccoli, then took a sip of water, and then took a few more sips. You guys really show off your affection endlessly, both in school and when I met you today. What kind of fragrance should we singles exude to be able to resist the sour smell of love? Bai Hui also laughed. I got up and picked up the vegetables generously. Today's spicy hot pot seemed to be much more delicious than usual. My heart was filled with energy and blood. It really increased my appetite. No way, and Nuan's cheeks were slightly red, because today's dish was too spicy, but she didn't want to deny it in front of Bai Hui, lest Bai Hui took it seriously and she would have trouble again. Lu Chang'an is a man without a master. Okay, it's not okay to have an ambiguous relationship with him casually. He and Lu Chang'an are ambiguous and have no direct clear relationship. That is a matter between him and Lu Chang'an. However, in front of outsiders, he must stand firm and declare his sovereignty, so that women who do not know themselves can keep a distance from Lu Chang'an. Bai Hui ate something and left beforehand with an excuse. She really couldn't stand An Nuan's coquettish and not afraid of people's guess look. If she hadn't been here, I was afraid that she would sleep in someone else's arms. Cheapo is because Lu Chang'an originally said that Bai Hui is cheapo, which means little eighth po. It will be put on the shelves after a strong push next week. I hope you will support the first order no matter what. In addition, reading the original version will help some students understand the plot. After all, Xiahua is not an author who likes to detail everything and always answers everything from a true God's perspective. What I wrote is a novel, not a manual. If you have any doubts about some places, you can share them with other readers in this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 96. After eating, the two of them wandered on the street for a while. Lu Yuang called a few times and called An Nuan to go home. After all, there are very few free high school graduates like Lu Chang'an. Not long after An Nuan left, Lu Chang'an received interesting information. Uncle, if I suggested to one of my male classmates that he use his summer vacation to undergo circumcision, would he agree? Since the last time Lu Chang'an sent a message saying that she had a son, the title of the message she sent became Uncle. Could it be that Lu Chang'an who is shamelessly pursuing you? Yeah, that's him. Why? I think if this is the case, he won't be able to harass me during the summer vacation. He will have to stay at home all the time. Are you too embarrassed to mention this kind of surgery to him? I'm just thinking of a way. My mother knows a doctor in the hospital who specializes in this field. If it's free, will he agree? How do I know? Just try it. Lu Chang'an rarely stopped and laughed for a while, then slowly walked home. When I got home, An Nuan also arrived home and sent a message to Lu Chang'an. My mother asked me to tell you that she can let you have a circumcision operation for free. God, I really don't know what she is thinking. She thinks that this way, I will be safe during the summer vacation. Is she the chief surgeon? Lu Chang'an. Well, I understand. I refuse. I don't need it. The two little girls were so cute that when Lu Chang'an went to the wet market to buy a goose, he didn't even bother to negotiate the price. The vegetable market near the community is not big, and things like geese are considered rare. Soft-shelled turtles, native ducks, small fish, shrimps, croakers, etc. are all brought by farmers from the nearby countryside for sale. Roast goose, herbal tea, and lychees are commonly known as the three treasures of southern Guangdong. With the popularity of Cantonese food, people in Juncha mostly eat roast goose, and the traditional methods of stir-frying and stewing goose are also less common. After all, things like lion head goose are popular among people. One often weighs 20 kilograms, and the smaller variety weighs more than 10 kilograms. It takes a lot of work to prepare. Most families rarely buy a goose for grooming. However, are there any private restaurants that serve goose as a specialty? Few. Of course, Lu Chang'an was the kind of person who had plenty of time and patience to eat goose. When he got home, he tied the goose to the window and warned Zhou Dongdong, who came to watch, to stay away from the goose. The goose's fighting power was amazing. Those who used to live in the countryside in ancient times, villagers often used geese to guard their homes. Ordinary local dogs, small jackals, and the like were no match at all. Goose goose, the song is singing to the sky. Joe Dong Dong greeted the big goose and waved his hand. Then what? Goose, 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 sing to the sky. Let me ask you the next thing. Goose, 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 sing to the sky. Lu Chang'an didn't ask her any more, and went to bring bricks and build a stove. Then he dug a large pile of wet mud from the edge of the pit where the loaches were raised and smeared it on the stove. Brother Chang'an, are you playing in the mud? My classmates say that I am a child who plays in the mud, and their parents say not to play with children who play in the mud. Joe Dong Dong looked at Lu Chang'an with sympathy, and Brother Chang'an did not. What kind of friends? I have to play in the mud by myself. Aren't you going to play with me? I'll play with you. Joe Dong Dong squatted down and took the remaining mud and wiped it on the stove. You will light the fire later, and those who have done something will have food to eat. Lu Chang'an twisted her aside. There is dry firewood under the stairs, bring some over. Joe Dong Dong wiped his hands and hurried to move firewood. He was very happy because the delicious food cooked by Brother Chang'an could make Joe Dong Dong eat several bowls. Lu Chang'an boiled a large pot of hot water and fed the goose some urkuatu. This would make the goose's feathers stand up, making it easier to pluck them out. What's the difference between a goose and a swan? Joe Dong Dong was waiting to light the fire. He moved a small bench and sat next to the earthen stove to watch Lu Chang'an kill the goose. They're all delicious. Lu Chang'an killed the goose and prepared to bleed it. The goose's vitality was very strong, far more than that of ordinary birds. Lu Chang'an even felt a surge of covetousness coming from the carriage next to him. The goose is much more expensive than the pullet, and Lu Chang'an wants to eat it himself. After bleeding, pour boiling water to remove the hair, then boil it over fire, cut open and clean the internal organs. Add salt mixed with chopped green onion and ground pepper in white wine, rub evenly into the belly of the big goose, and stuff a handful of green onions into it. After smearing the wine mixed with honey all over, put a large pot on the stove, pour a large bowl of wine and a large bowl of water into the pot, hold up the goose with bamboo chopsticks to separate the water, cover the edge of the pot with a wet cloth, and the rest is done. It was Joe Dong Dong who came to light the fire. Burn slowly, just burn these 2 handfuls of firewood. After burning these 2 handfuls, ask me to turn on the pot and switch sides. I'll lie down for a while. Lu Chang'an told Joe Dong Dong, who was gearing up and finally showed off his skills. Joe Dong Dong was lighting the fire nearby, and Lu Chang'an was reading a book beside him, teaching her the following 2 sentences of goose goose, chu xiang xiang tianj. What's the use of memorizing poetry? It doesn't seem to be of any use. Then why should I carry it? Because you are a stupid kid. Only by reciting poems can you look smarter. Goose, 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 sing to the sky. Then what? Goose. While the 2 were talking, Lu Chang'an saw Gao Qunyi coming again. This time, there was a 2-meter tall big man following behind him. His appearance was somewhat similar to that of Chen Changziu. He had the same messy eyebrows, bulging eyes, and bulging cheeks like a knife. He stared at Lu Chang'an quite awkwardly. Looks impatient. Lu Chang'an, I'm here to disturb you again. Gao Qunyi cupped his hand towards Lu Chang'an. Since it's an intrusion, I shouldn't have come. Master's orders must be followed. Gao Qunyi also looked a little embarrassed. Lu Chang'an, that's how things are in the world. There is never true freedom. Many times you are always forced to accept things you don't want to accept. Know if it is resolved, simply refusing is not the answer. You can say something so insightful even if you force someone to do something difficult. Lu Chang'an laughed. Gao Qunyi looked embarrassed. I can't help it. I won't go. Lu Chang'an didn't mind Gao Qunyi coming a few more times. Most people might find it annoying, but Lu Chang'an was very patient. Junior brother, what are you talking about with him? The strong man behind Gao Qunyi stepped forward. This is my senior brother Wang Yubo. Gao Qunyi introduced. Since you are not willing to spar with my master for the time being, can you spar with my senior brother? You don't need to come to visit us. We have already sent you to your door. The discussion is over. You can rest assured. Zhou Dongdong was listening to the adult's long-winded conversation with wide eyes, but she also understood that she was here to fight with Brother Chang'an again. Zhou Dongdong was very angry, ran over and pushed Wang Yubo, shouting, "You guys, these bad guys, go away. You bastard!" Wang Yubo stretched out his hand to grab Zhou Dongdong's head. Gao Qunyi was startled. He knew that this senior brother was always violent, and it was inevitable that the child would be slapped or thrown away. He was about to stop him, but in a blink of an eye, Lu Chang'an, who was originally on the recliner, had disappeared and appeared in an instant. In front of Wang Yubo, he reached out and pinched Wang Yubo's palm. Lu Chang'an hugged Zhou Dongdong with his other hand and covered her eyes with his palm. "You." Wang Yubo felt severe pain coming over him. He gritted his teeth and sweat formed on his forehead. "Lu Chang'an, I'm sorry." Gao Qunyi apologized quickly. How could Lu Chang'an care about Gao Qunyi's apology? He pressed his fingers hard and heard the click sound of broken bones. He raised his leg and kicked Wang Yubo in the lower abdomen. Suddenly, he flew out and hit the sycamore tree. The thick tree trunks swayed, and the leaves fell one by one, as if the autumn wind was caressing, and the deciduous acid took away the reluctance of the leaves. "Don't do this in the future." Lu Chang'an touched Zhou Dongdong's head. "It's very dangerous. Children can just hide behind adults. We are making delicious food, they are so annoying." Zhou Dongdong hugged Lu Chang'an's thigh and looked at Wang Yubo. "I don't like them bullying Brother Chang'an. It's okay. For things like fighting, I'm the 5th best in the world." Why is he 5th in the world and not number 1 in the world? On the TV shows Zhou Dongdong has watched, there are always people who say that they are number 1 in the world. The world is so big, there must be some people better than me, Lu Chang'an said uncertainly, looking at Wang Yubo and Gao Qunyi in front of him. In Junxia, he is invincible. All kinds of requests. I really want to eat goose. After writing this book, I will probably regain my weight again. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuiken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 97. The leaves were whirling, and Gao Qunyi helped Wang Yubo up. At this moment, Wang Yubo's screams were like a goose that was screaming like a live roasted goose paw. It was inevitable that the bones of his hands would crack, and his back would hit him. The sycamore tree was also seriously injured. "Oh my daddy, what is going on?" Such screams will naturally attract all kinds of people. Is it still possible to leave? Do you want to call 120? Chang'an, do you know what's going on? I beat him. You are still talking nonsense at this time. How can you beat this guy who looks like a black blind man? I kicked him away with one kick. Then why don't you kick him to Dongtang? It will show your strength. That's too much. Just watching the excitement, all the old men and ladies helped, and together with Gao Qunyi, they took Wang Yubo to the car outside the community. Gao Qunyi got into the driver's seat and didn't forget to say thank you. It would be difficult for him to do it alone without anyone helping him. A huge man like Wang Yubo loaded into the car. The culprits Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong are still under the sycamore tree. Lu Chang'an lay down again, and Zhou Dongdong continued to light the fire. After all, eating goose was the top priority today. If he had been busy for a long time and didn't eat the goose, Zhou Dongdong's child would definitely be very depressed. Brother Chang'an, will we be arrested by the police? Zhou Dongdong was still a little worried. After all, anyone who fights in the kindergarten will be arrested by the police. No way. If you want to catch us, can you wait until we finish eating the goose? I hope so too. Yes. Add more firewood, the fire is getting smaller. Gao Qunyi sent Wang Yubo to the hospital and quickly notified Pu Shaogang. By the time Pu Shaogang arrived, it was already dusk. Wang Yubo's arm was plastered and he was lying on the hospital bed, his face pale. Gao Qunyi was familiar with the hospital leaders. Wang Yubo had a separate ward, which was spacious and comfortable. There were 2 elegant and fragrant bouquets of flowers placed at the door, which were quite exquisite. However, in a place like this, no matter how luxurious the environment was, he could not enjoy it with peace of mind. Gao Qunyi saw that the woman he had met that day had also arrived. She did not enter the ward immediately. Instead, she stood at the door and looked at the bouquet carefully. Then she took a spray bottle and sprayed some water mist on the flowers to tidy them up. Gao Qunyi told Pu Shaogen truthfully about today's situation. How is this possible? Pu Shaogen's face was clouded. If he insists on fighting Lu Chang'an under such circumstances, wouldn't he be humiliating himself? Wang Yubo already has at least 7 points of his ability, coupled with his natural strength and swift counter-attack ability. How can he be crippled like a little chicken? What kind of power does this require? Master, we can't fight, Gao Qunyi said to Pu Shaogen with a serious expression, saying what he had wanted to say for a long time. We have no guarantee of victory. If we win, it is natural. If we lose, we will lose our reputation. There is no benefit at all. Pu Shaogen suppressed his displeasure. Gao Qunyi was dull and could not speak at all. Although your senior brother only has the power of my 3rd level, Lu Chang'an is still very impressive for his young age. Pu Shaogen snorted coldly, paying attention to the woman behind him. The woman came over and took the CT photo from Gao Qunyi's hand to look at it. 3rd girl. The woman who was called the 3rd girl by Pu Shaogen raised her lips slightly and put down the photo in her hand. The ratio of organic matter to inorganic matter in adult bones is about 3:7, the bending strength is 160 MPa, the shearing strength is 54 MPa, and the tensile strength is 150 MPa. If it follows the shape of the trabeculae and goes against the stress direction of the bones, the hand bones will present a mutually superimposed lever force. Assume that the 3rd and 4th bones of the palm are used as the fulcrum, and the stress on both sides is superimposed 4 times, then an adult hand bone will be destroyed. It requires about 400 kilograms, which is equivalent to 4,000 cattle. Gao Qunyi, Pu Shaogen, and Wang Yubo, who was already awake in the hospital bed, were all stunned. Although everyone had read some books, no one understood what the 3 girls said. It is indeed a blood inheritance. Yes, I don't know which wild woman he was born from. The 3rd girl sneered, turned to look at Pu Shaogen. You don't need to take action, you can't win anyway. This madam, how can you say that before your master has taken action? Gao Qunyi knew that the 3 girls were telling the truth, but he couldn't swallow this breath. Pu Shaogen glanced at Gao Qunyi and felt irritated. Do you have the right to speak in front of her? Then he quickly looked at the expressionless 3rd girl, hoping that she would not take her anger out on him. Gao Qunyi looked at his master's completely different expression from usual, and felt angry. Was it necessary to serve this woman so carefully? Tell me, why did he take the initiative? As expected, the 3rd girl ignored Gao Qunyi and just looked at Wang Yubo. As her eyes swept over him, Wang Yubo had a strong feeling of wanting to sit up straight and look more upright, but there were still various pains in his body, and in the end he could only smile reluctantly. I think that kid has a very good relationship with Lu Chang'an. I want to give her a good beating. Lu Chang'an will definitely take action when she is provoked, Wang Yubo said coquettishly. Senior brother, why don't you just attack Lu Chang'an? Gao Qunyi was surprised. Pu Shaogen gave Gao Qunyi a stern look and told him to shut up. Wang Yubo was too lazy to answer Gao Qunyi's question and just paid attention to the woman in front of him. The 3rd girl laughed, as if the bouquets she had sprayed with water were blooming all over the room, and the white walls were filled with gorgeous colors. Her eyes were flowing, and the corners of her eyebrows and lips were decorated with spring-like flowers. Charming. Yes, he has a decisive temperament and can be said to be ruthless. He is a person who does things. The 3rd girl smiled and nodded, and her fingers gently fell on the gauze on Wang Yubo's palm. Her fingertips were round and green, as if they would become as soft as overcooked tofu with a gentle pinch. Wang Yubo couldn't help but hold his breath. In addition to her indescribable appearance, this woman exuded an inexplicable charm. People want to follow her breathing and feel the fragrance she exhales. What's more, she praised him. Seeing the jealous look on the master's face, Wang Yubo's pain all over his body seemed to be reduced a lot. But I hate cruel people the most. After the third girl finished speaking, she gently squeezed Wang Yubo's palm. Wang Yubo suddenly screamed, staring at the third girl in horror and disbelief, his eyes seeming to pop out in pain. Pu Xiaogang held Gao Qunyi tightly and turned his head away, as if he didn't even hear the screams of the apprentice he usually talked about as his own son. After Wang Yubo fainted from the pain, the third girl let go of Wang Yubo's hand, turned around and smiled slightly. I don't like doing things like this. Don't do it again, so as not to make me angry. After saying that, she waved her hand and left. Pu Xiaogang then let go of Gao Qunyi. Gao Qunyi walked over to see Wang Yubo's condition, and quickly called the doctor in. He looked at Pu Xiaogang in disbelief. How could there be such a crazy woman? Pu Xiaogang slapped him across the face and snorted coldly, "Be careful when trouble comes from your mouth. Do you think this world is so normal and all people are normal?" Gao Qunyi touched his red and swollen cheeks, holding back the frustration in his heart. Of course there are madmen in this world, but why should normal people tolerate madmen? There is nothing we can do about the fact that the three girls in the end behave a bit like Li Huaji, because their characters and identities are similar. Today, my friend's foster dog spilled the water and burned the charging port of my Surface laptop. Is there any knowledgeable classmates who can't repair this thing? The cat broke the router. I was so angry that I left my cats and dogs in other people's homes. I'm going to save the manuscript and prepare it for publication. It's such an unlucky day, but luckily I have a lot of computers and can ask for all kinds of things. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 98. Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong finally ate the big goose smoothly in the evening. Lu Chang'an put the leftover goose skeletons together and made something that looked like a dinosaur specimen in the museum and named it a swan. Zhou Dongdong took advantage of Lu Chang'an to take a bath, occupied Lu Chang'an's recliner, and lay lazily holding his belly. Zhou Shuling came back and was surprised when she saw the chubby Zhou Dongdong. "How much did you eat at night?" "Oh, I don't know." Zhou Dongdong remained blissfully motionless. Lu Chang'an came out of the shower, topless, wearing a pair of large underpants, with a towel on his shoulders to wipe his head. He saw Zhou Shuling put on light makeup and jewelry. "Aren't you afraid that she will burst her belly?" Zhou Shuling said angrily, taking out a few peaches and placing them in front of Lu Chang'an. When Zhou Dongdong saw dizzy, he stretched out his hand with difficulty and then retracted it. "I knew in my heart that I could still eat a bowl, but I didn't let her eat it." Lu Chang'an wiped the peach and started to eat it. Zhou Shuling didn't really mean to blame Lu Chang'an. Life was difficult, and it was normal to encounter mean and vulgar people. Occasionally, gentle and friendly neighbors made life more warm and prevented her from completely losing faith in human nature. "I'll give you a midnight snack later, fresh iced crayfish." Zhou Shuling smiled and picked up the heavy Zhou Dongdong. "Thank you." Lu Chang'an was also polite. "In the evening, I bought a bottle of wine from Anxia and ate the crayfish given by Zhou Shuling under the sycamore tree." Lu Chang'an ate very attentively. Of course, he would not eat crayfish and play with his mobile phone. He turned on the radio and listened to the radio while eating late-night snacks. It was once an important scene that Ren Changhong described as 9 out of 10 times of happiness in life. The radio was dug out of the rattan bookcase brought from Boss Lan. The brand is Texun, a well-known brand. It can still be used after plugging in the battery. Juncha has several fairly good radio stations that have been developing. You don't have to worry about not having a channel to listen to at this time. The last time Boss Tuolan asked for news, he didn't get a letter. Lu Chang'an felt a little regretful. It would be great if he could be like a computer and could record everything in detail, big and small, as long as he didn't destroy the hard drive. But in that case, Lu Chang'an thought about it carefully. Forgetting is also the brain's self-protection mechanism. If you really want to remember everything, it doesn't seem to be something worth looking forward to. Lu Chang'an is not in a hurry. The worst he can do is push him after a while. Compared with patience, Lu Chang'an is very confident in his ambition. He will not give up easily even if he waits or works on anything for decades. After eating the lobster and cleaning up the leftovers, Lu Chang'an squatted down and fiddled with the branches in the puddle. Many loaches got into the pit, but they couldn't escape anywhere. At most, they had to catch them. After digging a few iron bars, these loaches have become fatter and tenderer after being fed by Zhou Dongdong in the morning and evening these days. There is no sense at all that if the fat is fat, it will be used by the knife, and there will be no leftovers. Lu Chang'an didn't just raise loaches for fun, he just worshipped pullets every day. Lu Chang'an had to make sure that other things around him would not be affected at all. A few days ago, it was a trivial matter for the sycamore leaves to fall. The old people had weak bones and insufficient qi and blood, and some people often fell ill. Needless to say, it was naturally related to this coffin. Lu Chang'an couldn't let this coffin do whatever he wanted. What if the old man, the old ladies are all dead and no one is playing cards or gambling together? This matter is too serious. These loaches are still innocent and lively, which means that the coffin is satisfied with eating one pullet every day. Lu Chang'an went to look at the little red dots on the edge of the coffin lid, which were still as small as a pinprick. Lu Chang'an thought for a while, then gently bit the tip of his finger, without biting it, and placed it on the little red dot. He immediately felt a sharp breath coming from the little red dot, as if being bitten. The real thing stabbed him hard, and Lu Chang'an quickly retracted his finger. It seems that you also know what is best, and you are not stupid, but do you know that whether it is a centipede, a little hen, a goose, or a crayfish or a loach, it is all it tastes best when it's cooked, Lu Chang'an said to the coffin. The coffin was deep and quiet, and of course he would not pay attention to Lu Chang'an. Will we know each other? Throughout the ages, you have to be a little more famous. Not to mention the old kings of the ancient country, I also know many of the 3 locust trees and 9 thorns of the past dynasties. It would be better if she is a good-looking and cute woman. It's... Lu Chang'an thought for a while, then shook his head. Although your coffin is weird, it's not even as impressive as Zhen Yi, and I don't know Zhen Yi. In fact, one cannot judge the status just by looking at the shape. It is not uncommon for important figures to be buried in thin coffins for special reasons, not to mention the guy in front of him who has gone through the soul-sealing ceremony. The coffin was silent and quiet, as if it had been like this for eternity. It had seen too many idiots talking about dreams, too many years of dust, and just absorbed the blood and vitality around it. Lu Chang'an didn't feel bored either. After talking to himself, he closed the carriage door and took advantage of the silence of the night to dismantle the door panel of his house. He spent a whole night preparing the clothes he wanted to give to An Nuan first. To make anything exquisite, it definitely takes a lot of time and labor. Just like the buttons on this Chong Sam, they all depend on Lu Chang'an's meticulous stitching. After working on it all night, it was ready at dawn. Lu Chang'an didn't wash it again. He just put it in a plastic bag and took it to school. Lu Chang'an first came to the school gate to wait for An Nuan. Seeing Lu Chang'an, An Nuan's face showed a shy look, and she walked slowly over step by step on the floor tile grid. Lu Chang'an laughed. An Nuan also laughed, then turned around and hit Lu Chang'an. Why are you laughing? Actually, I think your mother's idea is quite good. She is quite familiar with the situation of high school students. After all, after graduating from high school, many people relax, both physically and mentally, and then enter a life of indulgence and wantonness. All kinds of accidents happen frequently. Lu Chang'an spread his hands. Accident, do you know what it means? If you talk to me about this topic again, you will know what accident means. And Nuan calmly looked at Lu Chang'an with a smile. She already knew that if Lu Chang'an didn't take the opportunity to make fun of her today, then he wouldn't be Lu Chang'an. Actually, there is another version, did you know? And Nuan wanted to know, but she was afraid that Lu Chang'an had evil intentions and was waiting for him in a pit. This happened too many times. Some mothers will let their daughters have some kind of microplastic surgery during the summer vacation, move their nose, move their eyelids, etc., so that she can stay at home willingly. There didn't seem to be any pitfalls. And Nuan thought about it carefully and nodded. This was indeed a more reliable method than asking others to circumcise. Your mother should have thought of it, but she has no choice. Her daughter is perfect and there is no place to use the knife to fix her, so she has no choice but to ask me to circumcise her. Lu Chang'an sighed, this is all, it's your fault that you're too perfect, so your mother has no choice but to trouble me. And Nuan bit her lip, not wanting her smile to overflow. She raised her fist, but gently lowered it. She remembered the little sweetness and happiness she had rested on his shoulder that day. She leaned over little by little and held her pillow gently. Lu Chang'an's shoulder said angrily, Lu Chang'an, why are you so annoying? Sorry, it's a little late. I'm using a different computer today and I'm not used to it. I have various requests. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 99. Lu Chang'an was an annoying guy. When An Nuan was leaning on his shoulder and waiting for someone, or when he saw Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin, he didn't remind An Nuan. Fortunately, Zhao Chen and Ma Yilin didn't make a fuss about An Nuan. In their opinion, An Nuan and Lu Chang'an had already been a couple. They had graduated from high school, and the boyfriend and girlfriend were not cuddling or overly close when they were together, they were just leaning on each other's shoulders. Isn't it a common thing? An Nuan blushed, tilting her head and shaking her long ponytail. On the contrary, those who were in the first and second grade of high school were shocked after seeing it with their own eyes. It turned out that the rumors were true. The most popular internet celebrity girl in the attached middle school really belonged to Lu Chang'an, who had secretly captured others. Some people think that it was Lu Chang'an who saved people and stole the show that made An Nuan truly fall in love with her. This speculation is also accompanied by the theory that Bai Hui should be Lu Chang'an's girlfriend. After passing through grades and classes, gossip spread became increasingly unreliable after all. In the morning, they were still practicing football. In the third period, two members of the volleyball team happened to be in physical education class, so they practiced together. Lu Chang'an did not treat them differently, and he took care of himself. And Nuan was also used to his seriousness in doing things, so she didn't keep track of how many more words he said to whom, or the modal particles and the like, but she felt that his tone was not necessarily special when he spoke to her. He hummed several times to remind him. When they left in the afternoon, Lu Chang'an opened his bag and handed the clothes to An Nuan. An Nuan looked at the plastic bag. It said Golden Apple Clothing Market on it. This was a famous clothing market in Juncha more than 10 or 20 years ago. It sold various HK, GD, TW origin products. The selling point of brand name clothing. Did you buy it for me? An Nuan said calmly, thinking secretly that this guy finally knows how to give girls gifts. An Nuan bit her lip and reminded herself not to show a happy expression. If someone just buys a piece of clothing at the wholesale market, you will be so happy that you can't find anything. You are a bit promising. I did it? Ah. Huh. And Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an again to make sure that he was not joking with her. I was just about to say that if you go to the wholesale market to buy clothes, you will definitely get ripped off. Why not buy online and compare prices? How could I be ripped off? I can stand there and bargain with the shop owner for a day's price and let him drink all the water in the water dispenser. Lu Chang'an is very confident about this. I'm afraid the shopkeeper doesn't know how to drink water, but he will pour water on your head. Are you really the one who made the clothes? And Nuan opened the bag and looked at the material and stitching of the clothes. She was really surprised at this time. I'm a master. Lu Chang'an nodded. In terms of craftsmanship, even the most famous tailors in the county, Wen Si, have to be inferior. As for this sentence, and Nuan naturally ignored it. Take it home and try again. Lu Chang'an stopped and Nuan from taking it out. Girls never lack the ability to look at clothes. Just looking at the fabric and stitching of this dress, and Nuan knew that the workmanship was top-notch. And Nuan couldn't believe that this was Lu Chang'an's craftsmanship, but she also knew that no matter how much Lu Chang'an usually liked it, he was joking, but since it was a gift to her, and he said it was made by himself, there was no way he could buy a dress and pretend to be it. There was no need for it, and he didn't do it. It seems that I really don't know as much about Lu Chang'an as I thought, ever since the appearance of the cousin who stunned the entire attached middle school. This feeling made Nuan a little uncomfortable. She raised her head and looked at Lu Chang'an. She still had the familiar face and expression. Then she showed a girl's reserved and slightly shy smile and nodded gently. When girls are really happy, they often become reserved and desperately try to suppress the unprecedented joy. But how do you know my size? This is a cheongsam. If you want to wear the cheongsam without looking baggy or too tight, the size is particularly important. I secretly measured some data, plus visual inspection and feel. Forget it if you measure it secretly. How does it feel? And Nuan's cheeks turned red. If the atmosphere hadn't been right and his heart was filled with joy, Lu Chang'an would have realized what a real accident was. I hugged you, and when I moved my hands from the back to the waist, I could basically determine the curve of your waist. You were always clumsy when climbing the wall. I dragged your butt, and I could feel the approximate width and shape of the hip line. Data, and you keep jumping on me. Shut up. Lu Chang'an reached out and patted Nuan on the head, and said with a smile, I also know the head circumference. I will make a hat for you next time. Do you usually always take advantage of me? And Nuan was angry and shy. This Lu Chang'an usually kept his composure, but it turned out that he also knew how to take advantage of girls. How could I take advantage of you? According to your setting of always bullying me, these should all be intentional on your part, otherwise it would be me bullying you. It's you who bullied me, and Nuan didn't care that her settings were abandoned, and rushed over to hug Lu Chang'an's neck. And Nuan wanted to bully him as usual, but found that she inadvertently put her hands around his neck, stood in front of him and stopped, with her heels slightly raised, more like trying to act coquettishly. She didn't stand on her tiptoes as clearly as shown in movies and TV shows, but the distance between the two people was very close. He just lowered his head, and there was a coin's distance between their noses. She stood on tiptoes, holding her head high, and pressed against him. The sun slanted slightly westward from the top of the mountain, coloring his and her eyelashes, eyes, and lips. It turns out that he has grown tall enough for her to feel the happiness of standing on tiptoes. His eyes were staring at her, and the two people's eyes met directly. His eyes were gentle and calm. He just looked at her, as if he could see through her eyes that she had just returned. The beating heart was now like a deer shot by a hunter, stagnating in the air and giving up the struggle. Her eyes were trembling, like a pool of water in spring. Suddenly, rain fell, filling the pool with water ripples. And Nuan was flustered for a while, her cheeks were smeared with a layer of peach color, and even the soft fuzz on her earlobe seemed to be tense. She hurriedly obeyed, and quickly let go of Lu Chang'an's neck, dropped her heels, and took a few steps back. He hasn't confessed yet, and Nuan's first thought was this, and then she felt that she was so useless. Even if she hadn't confessed, the scene just now seemed impossible to refuse. It was all his fault, who made him not kiss her quickly. This thought made Nuan raise her head again and glare at him. At this glance, her eyes were shy, but full of the charm of a girl. "Have you felt the happiness of tiptoeing?" Lu Chang'an smiled. "No," Nuan denied instinctively. She put her hands behind her back and took a few steps back. She pursed her lips and looked left and right. She didn't have the courage to look directly at Lu Chang'an for the time being. She always felt that all her worries and emotions just now were absorbed by him. "See clearly." Lu Yuwang's phone rang at an inappropriate time but on time. She knew that it was Lu Chang'an who was training with Nuan, but since the college entrance examination was over, Lu Yuwang didn't want to be too strict, as long as Nuan was more reserved. In addition, her remote control can also start to work. Since there is no way to persuade Lu Chang'an to circumcise, this is the only way. Nuan and Lu Chang'an separated and went home with their clothes. Lu Yuwang saw the plastic bag in Nuan's hand at a glance. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 100. Lu Yuwang bought a cucumber slicer today and is trying to cut the cucumbers into thin slices with great interest. "Did you go to Golden Apple to buy clothes?" Lu Yuwang looked at Nuan very strangely. Of course Lu Yuwang knew about that place, but as a university professor, she had not been there for many years. It was suitable for people living in poverty. Young people who have just entered the society to work hard buy some cheap things that can meet the basic needs of life. Lu Yuwang's income is still very good. Neither she nor Nuan need to go to the wholesale market to buy clothes. "Are performance clothes still ceremonial clothes?" Lu Yuwang put down the cucumber and reached over to take a look. "No, Lu Chang'an gave me the clothes." Nuan would mention Lu Chang'an's name in front of Lu Yuwang, intentionally or unintentionally, so that she could gradually get used to the close relationship between her daughter and Lu Chang'an. This is also the reason why Lu Yuwang knows some things about Lu Chang'an. Unlike the daughters of ordinary families who dare not mention or avoid mentioning their boyfriends at home, Nuan will take the initiative to talk to Lu Yuwang about Lu Chang'an. But in Lu Yuwang's eyes, Lu Chang'an was still the young boy dominated by hormones who wanted to take away his daughter's body. Nuan just wanted Lu Yuwang not to object, but she didn't want Lu Yuwang and Lu Chang'an to meet, probably because she was afraid of a conflict between the two. Nuan thought, "Yes, that's it. Oh, you are very attentive. Young people also know how to go to Golden Apple to buy clothes, and they know how to live a good life." Lu Yuwang nodded. "Is this the money he earns from moving bricks on the construction site, or the money he earns from selling dog meat?" This is the information Huang Shan told Lu Yuwang. Nuan's cheeks were slightly red. Lu Chang'an was indeed too unconventional in many cases. Lu Yuwang's tone could not tell whether it was ridicule or praise. He did it himself, and Nuan couldn't help but feel proud, her eyebrows flying. Lu Yuwang also laughed. "If he did this, I would eat it." "He did it, but you can eat the plastic bag." "I like the clothes so much that I won't eat them." And Nuan was not happy. "Eat plastic bags, just eat plastic bags, let alone boys. Today's little girls are only 1 in 100 who can make clothes. If they can make some clothes for dolls, they are considered clever." Lu Yuwang took the bag and twisted the clothes out. Holding it in his hand, it feels heavy and weighty, soft and full of fall. The thin stitches, carefully woven buckles bloom like flowers, the perfect tailoring and waist-cinching details all make Lu Yuwang unable to put it down. Just like when you are shopping, you see many carefully designed and customized styles displayed in transparent windows as brand facades. Even if you feel that they are not suitable for you, you will still find them beautiful and pleasing to the eye. Nonsense, this is made by Wang Saimei. This kind of handmade pattern and buckles are her style at first glance. Do you think you can buy this kind of fabric casually in the market? Look carefully at these designs and colors. It is something that Wang Ximei designed herself, has a copyright patent, and is then made to order by the veto manufacturer. Only when the clothes are made at her home will her designs, colors, and fabrics be used, and they will only be provided to a very small number of customers who explain. Lu Yuwang also has excellent taste. A woman must have a cheongsam in her life regardless of the cost to show off her most beautiful figure. Lu Yuwang is no exception. Even if Professor Lu is not as rich as most successful people in society, but it is easier to get in touch with the people and circles she wants to get in touch with. Lu Yuwang not only knows Wang Jiangzi, but also knows Wang Ximei, because she is so beautiful and has an extremely perfect figure. For Wang Ximei, who regards making clothes as an art. For a woman like Lu Yuwang, she is the most suitable presenter of her works. Lu Chang'an said he did it, and Nuan was not arguing with Lu Yuwang, but just emphasized that he wanted to get the clothes back. You can say what you like. I don't want you to eat plastic bags anymore. Give me your clothes back. Lu Yuwang held it tightly in her hand. And Nuan felt sorry for her clothes and refused to snatch them from her, this self-righteous woman. You don't believe it? I'll just call Wang Jiangzi and ask. She won't be able to sell many of the style and color in a short time. She must have an impression. Lu Yuwang looked at his daughter proudly. Look at me, immediately exposing Lu Chang'an's hypocritical mask. He can deceive a little girl so well. It's a pity that he met a mother with such a keen eye like me. A piece of paper fell from the clothes. And Nuan picked it up and saw the suit of clothes drawn on the paper. It was an Nuan wearing the suit of clothes. There were a few lines written on it. When I was flipping through the book, I saw a sentence, which started with a heartbeat and ended with a white head. And, companionship brings warmth, just like your name, so I chose this gorgeous color with some dark patterns from the old days. The design theme of the clothes is, Whitehead, which is a bit old-fashioned, but your liveliness is enough to offset it. I am happy to see it. Lu Yuwang looked at the painting and these words in surprise. Is this the painting and words of a high school student? And Nuan took the clothes over and held them in her arms. A sweet blush appeared on her cheeks. Lu Chang'an, the words you wrote make people feel as if their hearts have been knotted by you and they can't be untied. Lu Yuwang looked at the painting and the words in disbelief, but still called Wang Jiangzi and asked her if she knew Lu Chang'an and if she had ever sold him a piece of fabric of such a color. Remember, it was raining that day, and I saw a wet boy entering the store in the rain. He happened to be the cousin of a distinguished customer, and he mixed a piece of material ordered by this distinguished customer, which was not the clothes I made here. He really made clothes for you. Give it to my daughter. Lu Yuwang knew that he was about to eat the plastic bag and hung up the phone. In fact, this painting and these words can explain a big problem. For a person with such painting skills and writing skills, even if he has a tailoring skill, it is just a genius. It's okay not to mention eating plastic bags. Lu Yuwang coughed lightly, took the clothes from An Nuan's hand, gestured in front of himself, looked in the mirror, and said to An Nuan with some surprise, you see, what I wear also suits me very well. It's almost like it's tailor-made. Mom, be more reserved, don't be like this, you were yelling about eating plastic bags just now, An Nuan said angrily. I'll give it a try, give it a try. Lu Yuwang pursed his lips, it's so warm, and I don't want yours, so I'll give it a try. This material is very elastic, Lu Yuwang said without giving up, let's try it first, and I'll try it again later. If it really doesn't fit in, I promise not to damage it. Then Lu Chang'an and I go out to play, so don't call me one after another. And Nuan thought for a while and decided to make some deal with her. Lu Yuwang nodded with some difficulty. The point was of course that Lu Chang'an was so talented, which impressed people, but that was not the reason why he couldn't refuse the extremely beautiful Cheongsam and definitely wanted to try it. All kinds of requests, especially girls, I know you like Amway the most, please help me Amway. In addition, I kindly help recommend real estate players, the author is on the list. It's really not easy to get on the list now.